Hello and welcome to another episode of doing some stuff with open source applications. Today I found my old little Intel NUC PC. I'm not sure what's inside. I think it's an i7, but it's almost 6 or 7 years old. Anyways, I want to put AI on it. But not the classic AI. I don't want to use Claude or GPT on it, but I want to use some LLM that runs locally on it, with agents and whatever else that I could do. Hopefully this can run them, I'm not sure about it. I don't know yet because I don't really make plans. But first, let's talk about AI. You can skip this if you want. So when I was 16 years old, I did an apprenticeship in computer sciences, or I think it was called information technologies. This whole thing took 4 years. There we built server racks, we did a lot of networking, we worked in different companies, we programmed, we used assembly, we learned about electronic technologies like flip-flops and such things. What the hell is a flip-flop? Then we also had quite a few projects that we did there. After that, I think I was around 21 years old by then, I went to do my bachelor in computer sciences. The whole thing took me 3 years full-time it was. There I had a focus on user experience, meaning usability, a lot of different things that we use in there, design thinking, design patterns and whatever there is. Also during that bachelor we did a lot of programming in Java. We did a lot of mobile programming, also design patterns, a lot of math, algorithms and data structures and so on. There we also had quite a few big projects with VR, with augmented reality. In general, you also learned a lot about project management. And after that, I think I was around 24 years old by then, I did my master's in digital ideation. It's a design master. This took me 3 years, but I also worked 60% as a software developer on the side. There we did a lot of different design stuff, design thinking, creating with purpose, first touch points that you have. I don't even remember what we all did, but there was a lot of things that we had to do. And there I had my first touch points with AI as we know it today. There was, I think, DaVinci 2.0 or 2.5 in that time, not sure anymore. We also did a lot of unnecessary BS, to be honest. Then I did my master thesis, which was something in the realm of visualizing connections in your nodes. And this used AI for metadata analysis, key points, keywords, and so on, to create a 3D map. The plan was to create an Obsidian plugin, which I did, but I never really finished it. It was just as far as I got during the time that I had. What I'm trying to say, all these projects that I did in all these years can now be done with AI. And pretty easily actually. I would even say that you can do them in 1 to 5 days with the current AI that we have. Of course, without the overhead of all the documentation that you have to do in school and the meetings and the deadlines and whatever. But you could do them easily with AI, I think. And there are some pros to it. You can do really quick prototyping, just create it. You can do it really easily if you prompt and just let it run. And the benefit of that is you can fail fast, maybe even fail cheap, depending on the price or the subscription that you have. But the big con is that you don't actually know anything and you completely rely on it. When you don't have internet or you have no AI, you cannot fix anything. I'm not saying that that is necessarily bad. I think if you don't grow with the technology just outgrows you in computer sciences. But you should not rely on one big corporation. What if the prices change? If they change their model, you suddenly have to pay 10x or 20x, whatever. I believe the solution for this problem, for this monopolized AI that we currently have, is self-hosting. Just get some free and open source software. And that's where I want to start today. I want to do some self-hosting and you can too. You can test it, help improve it. You can still use your AI that you prefer over an API like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. But for the smaller things, for all the agents with planning, writing and so on, you can easily use a local model, and I suggest that you do that. So today, I'm just gonna build something, and if you have any tips or other ideas that I could do, feel free to comment. So let's get into it. Well, hello again. I might have understated how much of a Vibecode this project will be. I plan to create a big prompt with GPT or just something and put it on my machine. This is a remote connected mini PC that I showed you earlier. It will create everything in Nix files. Just quickly, because I know for most of us it's boring, to see a big prompt. To create some different folders to put stuff in, then we want the model host with Ollama, we want text-to-speech with Supertonic 3, we want an agent orchestrator with Langflow, work automation with N8N, we want a chat server with Matrix and put Revolt or Stowed on it, then we want Motion Canvas to maybe even create some animations for the videos. And in the end, we have some shared storage that all the services can write onto, like the backlog. Then I told it to create multiple agents, so we have the project manager, the architect, the coder, the tester, security reviewer, the critic, and the video planner. There are a few golden rules that I wanted to add. Nix first. Everything and all configuration should be expressed as a Nix file. Then I want to keep it simple. I want modularity, so not everything in one file, just split it up. And I also wanted to create a README so I can read what it actually does. Let's just copy it in and see what happens. I do not recommend that you do this. I have codecs on full access over the whole machine. It is on extra high, so it takes a long time, and let it do its thing. And we are done. That's wild. It built quite a few things. It changed a little bit. It changed 22 files, 1,254 lines of code. We're gonna ignore most of it. No, I'm gonna ignore all of it. Honestly, as a true Vibecoder, I do not care what it wrote. I'm just gonna run it. So we do. So let's just do a rebuild and see if it fails or not. The rebuild took a few seconds. Something has to be wrong. I believe that it didn't import them properly. No, it did import it. Okay, no, I shouldn't think. I'm not thinking. I'm just asking. Why does the rebuild not work? Well, while all that is happening, let's just check quickly what it did. So we have the agents that we talked about. It described them a little better. And we have the backlog, should be empty. We have models, is empty. We have the modules. Nix failed. File system does not specify your root file because home multi-agent stack configuration Nix is not a complete NixOS host. Oh, okay. No, I see what it did. It created a new configuration.nix and it totally ignored the configuration.nix that the system actually uses. That's my fault. I told it to only use the configuration.nix and didn't point it to the correct configuration.nix. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed. It renamed the old configuration.nix that was wrongly created to stack.nix. Here are all the imports and all the setting that it creates for the different modules. Then it imports it right here. And it even updated the coder.md, so the agent description, to use the proper configuration.nix or stack.nix in this case, which is pretty amazing. So let's see. Try the rebuild again and hope for the best. Rather surprisingly, it went through. I have not tested anything yet, so let's see if anything is running. What? Okay, Docker is not installed. Oh, I told it to make a README. Maybe we can find something out there. This repository scaffolds a local open source multi-agent AI environment for NixOS mini PC. Everything lives under the multi-agent stack. That's nice. The stack is designed for a 16 GB RAM, CPU first operation. It uses a small queue for Llama model, Supertonic 3, text-to-speech, blah blah blah. So maybe it's actually running. Well, it is loading, but I'm not sure that I can access a Llama that way. There's even more to it. Start or restart the full configured stack after rebuild. So I'm just gonna copy the status and see if anything is running. We have Ollama model server is running. Then again, Ollama general model server. Is it the same? Oh, okay. At least it's running. This one is activating auto restart. That might not be running. Then we have Langflow. It's also running. Matrix, Synapse, chat server is also running. Everything is running and N8N is running. So I really don't like what's happening. I just told it I cannot connect from it from my laptop on any of the services. It found some problem, something. So I created this whole stack. There is no Docker running. It all runs on system D. I don't know. It's fixing something. Then I'll rebuild and maybe then it works. Oh, it gives me the new ports now. We have an unsecure, well, that's another problem, but we can set up the owner account. Let's just quickly do that. Okay, surprisingly, it's already up and running. Let's test Langflow, which is another one of the important ones. It looks good. Man, it's also up and running. It works. Synapse is running. That's nice. Ollama is running as well. Wonderful. But apparently Motion Canvas is also up and running. And it really is. Motion Canvas is also ready. So I think my whole setup is pretty much ready. It's really empty. So this is pretty weird. I told it that I want to be able to talk to my project manager agent. And it somehow built a new Python interface without me asking for it. I don't see any progress, but it's loading, so maybe something is happening. The small PC is starting to breathe, so maybe something is happening actually. So the AI finally did it. It actually properly hosted the matrix stuff, which is running. It uses the bridge to use some sort of chat. I don't know what it did exactly yet, but I can accept their invitation. Now the project manager, it already did something. I told the project manager something. I don't see anything running. That's a little annoying. I don't see it thinking. It took quite a while, but it created a backlog file, which I cannot see. Let's try again. This is the second backlog file that it created. The streamline, blah, blah, blah. There is the goals, the non-goals. Okay. So this is 1 day later to the initial start of the project. The project manager created this bigger prompt of creating a dashboard or a kind of a cockpit for all the AI operations. I let it run. I also added my bigger PC with a Ryzen 9 X3D CPU, 64 gigs of RAM, and then AMD 790 XTX, so it's kind of strong. I think it ran Gwen 32B Coder, the model, not sure what it's called again. And I just let it run through the night. I gave it instructions to build this. It's not really good. It's really slow, and the worst thing is when you open something, you can see what they're doing, but the site reloads every few seconds, so you can't really get 3D because it reloads all the time. But anyways, you see active agents. We could test it right now. So we can see the project manager is currently active, and it does some revisions of the whole document, the requirements and so on. Then we can also see what it's currently doing, the requirements that it has for this current thing. It just writes something. And overall, here are all the tasks that it did over the night, a few planning things. Here we can see that it went from the project manager to the workflow runner, executor, workflow, project manager. The critic was in here, security was in here, the tester was in here, the coder was in here, and so on. It just gives you a little overview of all the data that was produced and collected. To be honest, the result is not that good. The models that run on the mini PC are too weak. They often just quit, they have timeouts and so on. The coder has a really small context window, so you cannot really do bigger projects. It basically does this all in one file, which is terrible. I tried a few different things, and I believe if you cannot host a big LLM by yourself, and I mean bigger than a 30 billion parameter model, then it isn't really that useful. And especially if you factor in the price of a bigger PC, that you have to buy a bigger graphic card, 128 gigs of RAM or whatever to run a medium level model, you're still not on the edge of what LLMs could do. I'm torn. I think before I spend any more time on this, I'm going to stomp it. I believe I will use as a next step probably some random Chinese model over an API, sandbox it on this PC and give it some tasks and see what happens. Just to quickly see what it all did. We can see it made a gigantic agent bridge. So there's the human user, that's me. There are some passwords. I don't know. It just built a lot of things that actually can instantly be used in Nix. I could copy this to another machine and it probably would just work, which is amazing. What I don't really like is they're all services, so systemd services might be problematic. I don't know. I never really thought about using these things as systemd services, but hey, it works. The great thing that I think with Nix is that you can declare the whole stack in one. It could be problematic if you go to other machines with the bind addresses and so on that you have in here, but an LLM could do that in a minute. This was my try of Vibecoding a whole project. I think it turned out quite alright. Oh, look, the architect is running right now. Let's see what he does. This architecture plan outlines a minimal modular design using NixOS, and it refreshed the site again. So annoying. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you have any other inspiration or a tool that's actually good and I should test it out, leave a comment. And with that, have a good night, evening or morning, and see you next time. Goodbye.